Uh, This is the agenda for tonight, and this will be posted on the Roundtable page on Vertigo Hills Council. We're going to do a few announcements, and David and Pete will take care of most of those. I mistakenly put myself down for rechartering here. That's actually Pete and Amy will be taking over that. And then when we get to our breakouts, Maureen is going to talk about welcoming families, and I'm going to talk about the new Introduction to Leadership Skills for Troops and Crews that just came out this week. So thank you all for coming. Let's start with Mr. Potter. Would you like to talk to us, just refresh our memory about the in-person meetings in Los Angeles County?
All right, so in our council, and this is again only our council protocol rules, each council has developed their own, so this is the Vertigo Hills protocols. In fact, Greater LA hasn't approved theirs yet even. So if you go to our website, you'll find the click on protocols for outdoor activities for all units in our council. And again, it's for outdoor activities or outdoor meetings only. It's a lengthy read through, but it's very important. You do have to get permission from your chartered organization. You only have to do that once for them to say, yes, it's okay, we will follow, we'll allow you to do your outdoor things. The other things, key things, of course, are masks, social distancing, staying in small groups. A group cohort is no more than 10 youth, and in that group of 10 youth, there has to be 2 registered adults with that group. You can use parks, you can use parking lots, you can use your charter organization outdoor areas. You can come to Camp Verdugo Oaks.
What? Wait, what? It's open?
It's open for day use.
Ooh. As of when?
As of when these protocols came out.
Cool.
So you can schedule an event up there. There's plenty of space, and camp is looking great. And we'd love to see people in camp. You do have to register when you're going to have an outdoor activity or meeting. And in the protocols, it shows which email to send it to, which goes to Pete and I. And we're not going to send you approval. We just need to know certain information. The approval comes from your chartered org, and then just let us know that you're having it. So we have a record of everybody who's met. So if there's any kind of health issues that come up, we know who to contact. Those are some of the key elements of it. You please do read through the entire protocol list if you're planning on going outside. And I know it's a lot of rules. I've been going out, seeing how some of the units are doing with it. The first unit I went to, the Cub Master kept saying, I know these are a lot of rules. These are a lot of rules, but this is what we have to do. And they did a very good job in following the rules, and everybody had a great time. So, and like I say, if you have any questions, please email me or call me, and I'm here for that.
Anybody have any questions right now for Mr. Potter?
No?
Okay. You want to talk about something fun now, Haunton?
Yes. So I just got out of a Haunton meeting just before this one. We're finalizing our plans. October 24th is the COVID style of Haunton. It's going to be great. So far, we have 8 troops signed up to do decorations around the city. We're hoping to have split it, that there'll be plenty down here and then plenty up north at La Crescenta. One of the main stops will be the scout office, where you'll be coming to the Great Pumpkin Patch. And participants there will get to pick a pumpkin. They'll get their patch for the event, and they'll be able to take a picture there. And all the areas that you get to go to, the troops will be doing the decorating, and they'll have a spot where you can take a picture. We're also going to throw in some bonus stops of historical markers around the foothills, the Glendale, Burbank, Eagle Rock area if you want to do some extra ones. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm getting really excited about it. So far we have about 55 participants, which is about 15, 20 cars. It will be the maximum. We'll shut off registration at 110 cars. So if you have people interested, they should sign up now before we sell out. All right. Any questions on Haunton? It's going to be cool. It's going to be different.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I was forwarding your email that had the how to put it on, and the Dropbox link doesn't seem to be working. And I tried a couple different ways on a couple different systems, and it doesn't seem to be working correctly. Is anybody else having those issues, or is that just me?
I have a link for you that'll work.
Okay.
Let me just bring it up, and then I will put it in the chat.
Great.
And just FYI, Pete, the link on the homepage for Haunton doesn't go to Haunton.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right.
It takes you to the outdoor protocols.
Mr. Potter, are you done getting locations for the Haunton? I think
No.
our troop hadn't decided yet.
No, we're still accepting from troops. Yes. Well, that'll be. You have another week or so to get them in.
Okay, I'll keep asking. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm having pretty good luck with with Glendale City and using parking lots. Like we were trying to get the one next to the Dad's Club, or that's part of the college, and they're really interested in helping out scouts. So if there's other places within Glendale, I'm sure that they would be accommodating if it's open.
And we've had good cooperation from the Oaks Club. Are you going to be using their spot?
We're not. We're going to be. It's either going to be our Troop 118. We're either going to be in the parking lot on the other side of the baseball diamond, which is right next to the Dad's Club, or they might have a scheduling conflict. But they asked if we'd like to use another one if that's possible, and I said sure. So it might be the convention center. It might be one of those other ones that are down there. But they're pretty
great. That's great.
Great.
So coming up on November 21st is the day at camp that we promised if they went to day camp, they'd get a day up at camp. And that's going to be put on the calendar for November 21st. And all those who participate in day camp will get a email telling them all about it and what they need to do. Also in November, we have Scouting for Food, the first and second weekend of November.
Ooh,
Drop off your bags on the first weekend, pick up your bags on the second weekend. To get bags, they're going to be, for those of us down here in the Burbank Glendale area, they'll be at the Scout office, and we'll let you know what the times and days that you can pick them up. And then for those up in La Crescenta and the north there, they will be at Andy Turner's house, and we'll send out a note when that'll be scheduled. You can do the pickups. And so that's Scouting for Food. It's a great service project, and a little change, especially for those up north. You'll take your foods collected directly to a food bank in your area, and that's on the list of information we sent out, and we'll send it out again.
What's the time for that? What's the date for that?
That's the first weekend and the second weekend of November. Where'd my calendar go? I was in the middle of writing it when we started.
November 7th and 14th.
There we go.
There you go. So that's happening. And that's what I have currently.
Cool. I just want to remind people about our Cub Scouting Together program. We have some Cub Scout packs that are doing fine with this COVID restrictions and Zooming and video meetings and so forth. And we have some that are struggling. So for the ones that are looking for a place where they can have a den meeting or a pack meeting, our pack activity for October will be the Haunt-On participation, but we have den meetings each week for each of the different den levels. So go to the Cub Scouting Together page, and there's a link on the home page of the over here. No, there's not.
We'll add,
Huh? We'll add one.
Let's get together.
There we go. So lots of information there if you'd like to help out. We know that some troops are struggling too, but the troops are doing better. If you have a feeder pack that is feeding your troop and it's in trouble, you may want to help them. So consider reaching out to that. And if you have any questions about that or you want to help, contact me. Pete, you want to talk about popcorn?
I'd love to. We still have the popcorn sale continues until early November, when the traditional popcorn sales will end. But it's actually, you never have to stop selling popcorn online if you really want to keep selling. Scouts will have a Scouts popcorn sales page will remain available to support all throughout the year. The products may change, but
Oh, really?
But they're available. So, you know, if you are a Scout selling popcorn, you should be on this list, and people can go and support you on your page all year round. But that said, our popcorn sale does the traditional popcorn sale where you do regular ordering and we get it in the council and you go deliver it. That ends in November. So it's still a great time to get started because you can go as long as you want with the popcorn sale, and and you get prizes for all the popcorn that you sell up till the very end of the year, and your unit also gets a payout for popcorn that you sell up until the very end of the year. So it's a great way to support scouting, to sell or buy popcorn. And this page on the website has a list of all the scouts. And one of the cool things is that if you click on it, a lot of them have pictures uploaded and information about what they're going to do with their popcorn money. So it's a really fun way to see what all the scouts in our council are up to.
I was talking to a Cub Scout pack the other day, and they said, oh, well, we tossed out popcorn, but people decided they weren't going to support it. Folks, you can't have your pancake breakfast. You can't have your Christmas wrappings. You can't have your typical sales. This is a wonderful COVID-era fundraiser for your unit, for your pack or troop or crew. So I encourage you not just to toss it out there. Get a popcorn kernel that can promote it, encourage people to participate in it. Some of this money goes to your troop or pack, and this is an important way for your, you know, I know that they're not going to summer camp this year and they didn't need the money, but next year they will need the money and you may not be able to do your typical fundraiser. So keep that in mind.
Pierre, the other thing to remember about this is it's not about the popcorn. It's about the learning salesmanship and learning about, you know, how to talk to people. So I think that gets lost a lot in the messaging of go sell popcorn. Make a short video, you know, have a favorite item that you like to promote. Those sorts of things are important skills to have.
And there are many avenues. You don't have to do it just on this webpage. You can do it with Facebook and have a link to this webpage or to your popcorn page, Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media your favorite is. Please consider using that and get it out there. We're in advance of Christmas. These make wonderful Christmas gifts. Maureen Brown was telling me she already bought some and sent it off. Maureen, did you wrap it up and say, do not open till Christmas?
Heavens, no.
Who could wait?
I would think that it probably is consumed already. I bought one from a Scout and pack 199, and then I bought another off a Facebook post, like you said, from a Scout whose dad was in pack 199.
Oh, what fun.
Yeah, so
Cool.
in other words, you know, and my son, and I sent them both to my son.
So this is a great opportunity, folks, and don't just toss it out there for the Scouts. Find somebody who can promote it, like Richard Briggs was just talking about. Lots and lots of good ideas out there. Let's move on to Silver Fir status. I've got David Potter's name there, but Debbie Wagner is on.
Yeah, she's on the line.
Yeah, Debbie, you want to talk a little bit about Silver Fir? We were talking about it when we came on, and Debbie, you're not on mute, but I don't hear you. Her mouth is moving.
Let's see.
There you go.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right. Sorry, I'm turning my volume up. Okay, I'll take this off now. My name's Debbie
Oh, it's
Wagner.
a much better look, yeah.
Well, first of all, go Dodgers. They're ahead right now.
Oh, are they? Oh, wait a second.
Yes.
Hey, don't distract me.
Sorry, I just had to plug that. So I am the chair of the Silver Fir Committee. I've been around for a while. I have 2 Eagle Scout sons. Anyway, most of you probably know that Camp Silver Fir was right in the middle of the Creek Fire. And miraculously, the lodge is still intact. And but we lost the campmaster cabin, the shower house, storeroom, and the bridge. So the whole area has been inaccessible since the fire. And just last weekend, they started letting people, cabin owners in the tract where our camp is, go in and assess damage and maybe retrieve some personal items if there was anything to retrieve. So we have a team going up, leaving Friday. I'll spend the night in Clovis, and because you can't, there's no way to stay up there, and then go up to the camp on early Saturday morning. There are a lot of restrictions with county and Forest Service, so they've had to get, special permits. They have to check in, check out. But we have 5 people going up. They're going to winterize the camp, like turn off, make sure power, water, sewer, all that stuff is capped off, and assess the damage, and to help out with the insurance, take a lot of pictures and videos and that kind of thing. So maybe next month I can actually do a more extensive update and show you guys some pictures and things like that. This is the first step in, dealing with camp. But we were, when we got the drone picture that showed that our lodge was still there, we were all really excited. So.
Thank you, Debbie, for that update, and we expect to see some pictures on your Facebook page.
Yes,
I'll come back.
yes, we will. We're going to put something in the Echo and have some pictures out there as soon as we get a little bit more information.
Great. Any questions for Debbie about the trip up to Silver Fir? There's a crew going up tomorrow. You can't go because they've been practicing, and they're all
yeah, they've been planning this now for a few weeks. And
great. No questions? Moving on.
right.
Let me go back to sharing my screen, and we'll talk about our safety moment for the month. Oh, wait a second. Let me first ask our knowledgeable people, Amy and Pete and David, any other announcements that I've missed?
I was going to say that Scott Waller says Trails Inn on their website has Christmas items, because he just put it in the chat.
Ooh, I like it. And, it's not that far away.
No, it isn't.
Our safety moment for this month is the emergency action plan. And I will remind you that next week is the Great California Shakeout. It's a practice on the 10th day of October, the 15th day of October, 10:15 at 10:15. And this is when we all practice the drop, cover, and hold on. And then whatever else you need to do to effect your emergency action plan for your home or your business, wherever you are. I will remind you that we have, as among our safety moments for scouting, the emergency action plan, and it's to talk about your camp, your local council, your meeting place, and your homes. Emergency preparedness merit badge includes, and also first aid merit badge includes developing an emergency plan for your home, an escape plan for your home. These are great opportunities for you to bring this up to the forefront of the minds of the people in your troops and packs, and to get them to think about it. So take a look at the link to this page, the emergency action plan for the BSA, and there's some suggestions on what you could do and some wonderful resources also. Next Thursday, a week from today, is the great Shakeout at 10:15 in the morning. Get ready and participate. And moving along, now we come to our feature. I know it says Pierre Landry, but it really should say Amy Taylor and Pete Simpson on that. So let's go ahead and let you guys take it away.
Hello, I'm Pete Simpson, your district associate. I'm sure most of you know me, but if anybody doesn't, I'm here to help, always, one of your friendly council employees. And I'm here with Amy, who can introduce herself maybe.
I'm Amy Taylor. I know most of you know me. I'm the district director I handle the field staff, and we're here to help you and talk to you about rechartering this year. Most of it is similar, but there are some things that are different this year.
Thanks, Amy. You never know who is here and maybe is a new committee member just getting started. So I have a couple of documents to share with you. And I want to tell you that before you even ask, everything that I show you will be available on the website after this meeting. Particularly the presentation and a video of this roundtable as well. All the videos for roundtable are up on our YouTube channel, and you can find them in the roundtable section of the website. But particularly for rechartering, if you click on this link here that says it's time to start rechartering, or under resources, internet rechartering, you will find the rechartering page, which is going to have everything that I share with you tonight. It's got the link to register for this meeting, so it's a little late if you haven't already. The video, I will replace last year's video with this year's video. A link to the document that I'm about to show you, and all the rest of it will be here, right on this page. So, who has done rechartering before? You can raise your hand with the raise your hand feature. I'm curious. How many of you are? Okay, so there's some people, but it looks like maybe some people haven't done rechartering before. So it is, some of you might know it as a stressful process. I don't know how many of you feel that way. It's some people say that it's like a really difficult thing and a really tedious part of scouting, but I'm here to tell you that it really doesn't have to be. And the key to having a smooth and easy rechartering experience is preparation. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is the membership inventory, which is the key tool in making it easier to run your rechartering season. So it's done in 2 steps. The first step being the unit membership inventory, and the second step being the unit leadership inventory. And it's time to start the unit membership inventory now. It's done in October, 2 months before you start the rechartering. If your unit recharters in a different time, like if you recharter in February because you're part of a home and admin unit, then you want to start in December. But for most units who recharter in December, you want to start in October, this month. And the first step is finding an adult leader to lead the inventory. In a smaller unit, that's probably going to be the same person who's doing the recharter for your unit. It's probably going to be one person doing this whole process. And it'll be a little bit easier than in a large unit because you don't have as many people to count. But in a large unit, you probably want a team of people working on your rechartering because it takes a lot of different aspects of your unit and combines it into one process. So part of the membership inventory is contacting every family in the unit. So maybe somebody who already talks to each scout, like an advancement chair or a new member coordinator or even a membership chair, would be a good choice for doing this part of the recharter process because they're familiar with all the scouts already. So choosing the right person to do each of these steps is important. And I want you to make sure that it's not just the committee chair doing everything here, or the master or the scoutmaster, because that's not a very good practice. So make sure you get help with this process, please. Okay. So the first step is to select a unit leader or an adult to do the membership inventory. The second one is to talk to your commissioner. Not every unit here has a commissioner assigned, but that's going to be changing over the next little while. John Lawson, our district commissioner, has been working hard to recruit unit commissioners for every unit and has already recruited several. So if your unit has a commissioner, reach out to them to get their help with this process. And if it doesn't, feel free to reach out to Amy or I or to John Lawson for help with this process. The third step is what I mentioned before. You need to contact every family on your roster. It's important to do that because you need to know, as part of the recharter process, who's going to be continuing with your troop or pack or crew and who is not going to be continuing. And your first step is to find out which youth are going to be returning and which youth are not. So you should have a list of questions ready to ask people. Yes, Gil, I will be providing a copy of everything I show today. There was a question in the chat whether we'll be able to get a copy. There will be a recording and a copy and everything. Cool. So you want to contact each of the families. That means that youth who are on your roster but haven't been active in a few months, you want to reach out to them as well. Youth who are there at every meeting, you still want to call and talk to the parents about their involvement next year, because you never know if somebody's planning on moving or if something is going to prevent them from participating, and you don't want to end up paying for a family and then having them say, sorry, we can't continue. So every family on your roster you need to check in with. The other group that you need to check in with is youth who are participating, but for some reason aren't on your roster. You need to get them registered, because any youth participating in the program should be registered with the council. And if you knowingly have a scout who isn't registered and they're participating in programs, then it becomes an issue of risk management. And that scout is likely not to be covered under our liability insurance or accident and sickness insurance if something happens on an outing. So if you become aware of a scout who is not registered, that's okay, as long as you remedy the situation immediately. All right, so when you're contacting each of these families, you want to collect a couple of different pieces of information, and you want to record it in a spreadsheet. This year, in your rechartering packet that was sent out by Heidi, our registrar, instead of a PDF roster or a printed roster from your unit, there was an Excel spreadsheet that shows every registered member of your unit. We recommend using that document to track who is registered and who's not. It has all the columns that we need to make sure you have the information for, because you need to, one, ask them, are they going to be continuing with your unit? But you should also ask, if you're not going to be continuing with our unit, why? Because that information is going to be requested in the rechartering process. So you need to make sure to ask them if they're not going to be participating in 2021. Oh, why aren't you able to participate? And if possible, that answer might help you get them to participate, because ultimately it's best if we don't drop any scouts from the program. But of course, sometimes people move or things like that, and they're going to go join a different scouting program in Minnesota, wherever. That's okay. We just need to know why they're not continuing with your unit next year. You also should check their contact information. You know, we have a lot of returned mail at the council. We have a big room just full of returned mail from addresses that are missing an apartment number or unit number or something because the address for that family is incomplete in our system. So I would really, really appreciate if you could, when you're doing the recharting process, ask that family if their Scout's address is listed correctly on there, and make sure that includes their apartment number or unit number. Same thing goes for emails. We get so many returned emails and phone numbers. We want to make sure all that information is correct because we might need to reach out to parents for any number of reasons. And it helps us just keep everybody informed. So please, as you're going through that list, ask them if they're going to be continuing, and also ask them if their email, phone number, and physical mailing address are correct. Okay. So the other couple things that you need to do during the membership inventory are, one, collect any annual fees that your unit charges to your Scouts. There are some units that do monthly dues and so don't have to do an annual fee, but if you're collecting annual fees in your unit, we recommend you collect them as part of your member inventory because it makes it a lot easier if you have it all worked out ahead of time. There's a new tool for you to do this year. You can, if you have a PayPal account for your unit, you can connect that PayPal account to Scoutbook and assess those fees directly through Scoutbook. So definitely consider using that if you'd like. You can find resources on how to use .scoutbook.com. And as you recruit more youth through the end of the year, this is if you get any more youth joining, make sure you turn in their application right when you get it and add them to that inventory so you keep it up to date. Okay. And one thing that we wanted to touch on especially this year is membership assistance. Amy, do you want to talk a little bit about membership assistance?
Yeah, because can I share the screen?
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
You'll just take over.
Okay. Okay, so we put out the packet. Well, actually, Heidi put out the packet. So everybody, I want to make sure that everyone's got their packet. If they haven't got their packet, please send an email to Heidi because we're doing it all digital this year. So that's one important thing. Our council, the membership assistance, because of COVID especially, we do not want to turn anybody away, a new Scout or a continuing Scout who cannot afford to do Scouting. So we put the membership assistant request form in. So please use that form. If you already have Scouts on a membership assistant request form for the year of 2020, the family needs to refill another one again. What's different about this form is you're going to need to create a roster separate from your regular recharter because the way we're giving assistance and the money gets pulled directly from national from us is we will give them assistance, but they won't go officially into the rechartered. Once the unit is rechartered, we'll put those kids back into your unit. And that's the important part. So please do not recharter them. Put them on, you could use the Excel spreadsheet and send it back to us and identify the youth, or create a new spreadsheet and say, Joey Smith is going to continue on his membership assistant request and fill out the form and send it back with the rechartering or send it back to Peter or I.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I know it's very difficult for many families this year, and we want to make sure that we give the opportunity for all the Scouts to continue their journey.
And we'll cover in a little more detail at the end how to package it all. So if you're not quite clear on that yet, we'll talk about that in more detail a little bit later.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so the next step, we've got all of our Scouts. We know who's continuing with us. We know who's not. We have all the right contact information for them. The next step is to figure out your unit's leadership, your adult leaders. This should be done 1 month ahead of when your recharter is happening. So that's November for the majority of units next month. And, you know, obviously if you're rechartering in September, like I know at least one unit on the call does, then that would be in August. So the unit leadership inventory is essentially the same thing, but it's for your adult leaders. So this, we want to do the same. We want to start the same way. We want to select a unit adult, and for this one, it might be a different unit adult than did the membership inventory, or it might be the same adult if it's not as big a task because of the size of your unit. But in a large unit, like, I mean, I don't want to call anybody out, but like some of our largest units might want to appoint different people for each of these tasks. Maybe for the unit leadership inventory, the committee chair would be appropriate because they're leading the adult leadership in the unit. Or maybe there is a PAC trainer who already watches the roster of adult leaders and is a good choice for this role. You can figure that out in your unit, but make sure you assign somebody to this task. You can invite your commissioner or to help you out, which would, you know, they're always there to help. So you're going to want to contact each of the adults listed on your roster because you want to make sure that they're continuing in the position that they are assigned, or you want to know if they have to step down, if they're not going to be able to fulfill that role in the next year, or if they are going to be taking on a different role. You want to make sure you know who's able to continue. After that, you should sit down and figure out that you have all your necessary positions filled. So this list is the one that's important for rechartering. You need to know who your institutional head is. That is not a position. It's a description of a feature of your charter organization. If you know what I mean. It's your institutional head is the institutional head of your chartered organization. So if you're at a church, it's the pastor. If you're part of the American Legion, it's the commander. It's not a position that you need to ask somebody to fill. It's just a position that is filled by the person who is the leader of your chartered organization. They don't have to take youth protection training. You don't have to pay for their membership. It's just they need to be on our records. They don't even need to fill out an application, although that is the easiest way for you to get us their contact information and everything which we need. You also need to make sure that your chartered organization has assigned you a chartered organization representative. That's a required position. You need to have your unit leader, which is a Cub Master, Scout Master, or advisor, depending on what kind of unit you have. You need to have your committee chair, and you need to have at least 2 committee members. That could be the committee member position, and we recommend that you have a new member coordinator and a PAC trainer. If you're a PAC, you would have a PAC trainer, that is. There are, if your unit is, probably every unit needs more adult leaders than that, but you need to make sure that you have that because if you don't, then you're not going to be able to complete your rechartering. So after you have, so we'll do this right now. Just realized an extra step in there. So if you have more positions that you want to fill, you should work on that at this time too. Sit down and figure out all the positions you want to fill, and try to get your roster filled with those people in November so that you're ready to update all their positions in November. If you have somebody new joining your team, you need to collect an application for them and then turn that in immediately. But if they're changing positions, then you can do that as part of your recharter. You don't have to collect an application for them.
Hey, can I mention something about the adult application?
Absolutely.
So when you turn an adult application, for those who've been at the council for a while, you used to be able to turn an adult application without doing YPT, that's youth protection training. You need to do your youth protection training as well as turn an adult application, because that will hold up your recharter. And the other thing I wanted to mention is when you're doing your adult inventory is make sure that your adults have current YPT, because they may have expired and we hope they don't, but it will also hold up your rechartering. Thank you,
Yes,
Pete.
absolutely. So you want to collect your fees from your adult leaders at that time as well, if you have annual fees for adult leaders. And you should also you should also put together with every application with a new adult leader that youth protection training certificate and the new background check authorization form, and then turn that in turn that in immediately, and then add them to your inventory. That way they'll appear on your recharter. Okay. So at the end of both of these processes, you should have a big Excel spreadsheet for youth members and for adult leaders. That information you're going to want to turn over to the person who's going to be handling your rechartering, because that's the next step. After you've done the member inventory in October and the adult leader inventory in November, it's December, which is the month that we need your unit to recharter. So I recommend that right on December 1st, your recharter chair start that online process. Why don't I take a break though and answer any questions about the inventory process, because we want to make sure that these great questions that are being asked in the chat are answered on the video as well. So Amy, it looks like you were answering questions. Do you mind reading them out loud so we can answer them for the people watching the video? Oh, you're muted, Amy.
I'll read them.
Thank
Are
you.
we able to print out youth protection certificates out of Scout Book for all adults, or do we need to ask them to send it?
Yes, you can print them out of Scout Book. The only ones you can't print out are people who are not registered yet.
Okay, you're off
Also,
mute, so go ahead.
If an adult leader is registered in your unit, then you don't need to turn in a youth protection certificate for them. You only need to turn it in with new adult applications. It is important that you check to make sure that all of your adults have YPT though, because if they don't, then it's going to stop them from being on your recharter roster, right? Your recharter will be stopped from submitting because you have adults on there that aren't youth protection trained.
And let me just insert here. 2 years ago, everyone had to renew their youth protection training, and that 2 years is expired in either September or October. So many of you have your youth protection training that has expired. So it's real simple to just go online. It's about an hour and 5 minutes to complete the whole thing. We do have, as we will show in the agenda again, we've got a Q&A every 15th of the month, the heart of the month. The safety is the heart of scouting, and the heart of the month is youth protection training Q&A. You can come on at 7 o'clock on the Zoom and ask any questions you have about youth protection. Well, what about this and what about that? And the training team will answer those questions. Mm-hmm. But make sure that you make sure that you alert people that their youth protection training is probably expiring either this month or last month.
So Kathy Pereira asks, does a background check authorization need to be original, or can it be scanned copy? Yes, it could be a scanned copy. And please you could either turn it in to Heidi or within your recharter packet. Laura asks, can the same scenario for the background check? It's only for new adults that are applying to a new position. It's not for adults that are currently in the unit and changing positions.
You may have some adults. Oh, sorry.
They may have a few adults because last year was the first year that we're asking for the additional background check that may have not turned it in. So if that's the case, Heidi will reach out to you when the recharter packet and say, oh, we need a background check. You may have turned it in, it's just it's not showing on your record.
Yeah. So to be clear, only new adults need that new background check authorization. There might, if there are those other adults in your unit that still require that, you will be contacted separate after you're turned in your recharter. So that'll be handled after that. It shouldn't be very many. And
Michelle's asking register.
I saw the question before Michelle's. Do all adults and youth need to fill out applications every year?
No, they don't unless they're changing positions.
Even if they're changing positions, adults don't need to fill out an application. It's only if they're joining for the first time. Otherwise, you can update their contact information, their position, or renew their registration through the online recharter process. So you don't need to collect an application.
Is that also true of unit leaders?
Yes.
So Pete, let me clarify that. It used to be in the past that if someone was changing a position, they had to submit a wet copy of the tri-form
Yes.
to change it. And has that changed?
That is not the case. You can now update that information as part of the internet rechartering process. And as long as that roster with that new position is approved by your chartered organization representative, then that fulfills that requirement for having that signature on there.
Thank you.
May I ask, if you do your adult application online, does that also include the background check form? Is that?
I believe not. So we'll have to verify that.
Yeah.
Because that's something new. And so I don't think it's on the online process, but we'll check on that, Richard, and get back to you on it.
Thank you.
So
Do me a
Michelle's
favor, excuse me, do me a favor, Richard, and put that in the chat so we memorialize it. Say that 3 times fast. Thanks.
Got it. And Michelle Basler's question was, if the registered adult's position title is wrong on the spreadsheet sent to us, can we update it that when rechartering, or do we need to update it separately with the council? So yes, you can update somebody's position during the rechartering process. If you want to do it outside of the rechartering process, you'll need to turn in the application to do that, signed by the chartered org rep and the adult.
So if someone's moving from a Tiger Den Leader title to a regular Den Leader title, we'd have to go through a whole application process if we don't do it on the internet, online? Seems kind of crazy.
I think that's actually, I think that particular change is supposed to happen automatically at the same time as the scouts.
Yeah,
are
like
listed.
I'm still listed as a Lion Den Leader, I just saw, and I'm a Wolf Den Leader. So it's been wrong for 2 years now. So I think it's the Tigers and the Lion ones we're having trouble getting anyone out of.
Got it. So yes, go ahead and during your internet rechartering process, you can just change that position to Den Leader.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions about the inventory process? The next thing we're going to talk about is the internet rechartering system and actually going through it. Yes,
Does updating the information about leadership positions in Scout Book backflow to your guys' system if that person is a verified user?
No. If you change their position in Scout Book, it affects their permissions in Scout Book, but does not affect their registration position at all.
Good to know.
So Michelle asks, membership assistant request form for those turned in before December 10th to find out if they've been approved. Michelle, do you want to elaborate a little bit more?
Sure. Yeah, I wanted to get it in before Pete moved on, so I didn't elaborate. Again, our PAC has limited funds to also support scholarships if someone can't cover dues. But again, this is a year like no other. We have a lot of our parents who are without work. So if the form is something that is completed and sent to council. I've been told to leave them off my list by, when I do rechartering in early December.
Yeah.
Is the council approving all of them? Is there a certain criteria you're using so we know whether we should actually leave them off or whether we should cover it with our own PAC dues? So I'm trying to understand what your process is for that so that we don't have
Well,
someone left off.
the reason why we're leaving them off is because when you recharter at the end of December, National will take all the money from us, and we have to, for us internally to code them correctly, we have to put them in the recharter afterwards. Otherwise, it's some paperwork for us. So if you do turn in a membership assistant beforehand, we probably.
But I'm really thinking about an ongoing scout who's already in there. They're already on our list. They're active
Yes,
with us. So
and
to
so
take
to
them
have
off
them-
and saying that they're not continuing or somehow to take them out seems wrong to me.
No. They won't be taken out. They just won't be physically in the roster. So there's not the technically out. So when Heidi actually does the rechartering process and puts you in, it's a matter of sending the whole unit in and then going back in and putting him and identifying this person having
Sure.
assistance,
I can-
and our money comes to cover the kids.
I just
they're
want to
not-
know what I have to do in the entry of it, I guess. So, yeah.
I think I can explain this a little pretty clearly, Amy, if you'd like, or if you don't mind. Those receiving membership assistants shouldn't be on the recharter roster that you turn into the council, because those are the scouts you're going to be charged for. But it will end up on the recharter roster that we as a council are sending to National.
Right. Yes.
Uh,
That makes
and-
perfect sense. But when I'm going into the rechartering system and their name comes up on the list, I guess I'm just wondering what it is I'm supposed to do next to them. Do I say they're rechartering or do I say they're not rechartering?
You say they're not rechartering. You take them off
And then I
the
have to
list.
give a reason why?
Yes, and you should use the other reason, and then you'll include with your what we'll talk about when we're talking about putting together your recharter packet. You'll give us a roster of this with your recharter roster. You'll give us a roster of scouts who are receiving individual assistance or who are requesting individual assistance.
Requesting it, right? Okay.
We actually, so to my knowledge, we've never turned down a scout asking for individual assistance. But in the case that we do, we'll reach out and work out with you how we're going to handle that scout individually.
Great. Thank you. And there's no way they'll be taken out of any of our stuff in Scout Book during this short period of time that
No, they
I can
won't
no
be.
to them. Perfect.
No.
Thank you.
They'll end up on the recharter roster that actually gets submitted in the end.
Great. Thank
Okay,
you.
So Gil has a question.
I do. You touched on, but sort of answered that question, Pete, is if we're supposed to not put them on our charter because we're requesting assistance, what if they don't get that assistance? Now they're not on our charter and they haven't got that assistance, and say parent X says, oh, I'll pay for it. Do we now have to resubmit an entire new application for them in the next year? And they've lost, the in-between time?
No,
Carlos, we have not turned anybody away. We are planning not to turn anybody away this year.
but in the case that we do, we will reach out to you and work it out about that individual, and they won't
Early
At
on.
no point will they be dropped from your roster.
And
Okay.
mention that you also backdated so that the continuity of the scout participation is not lost.
I think
It's actually
that was the
never-
question.
They are never off the roster, Pierre, is the thing. When you submit your recharter, it doesn't automatically go all the way through. There's still a process that we need to complete at the council, and that's when we will add those scouts back in, but we will be covering the cost of those scouts rather than having the unit pay for it. if that
I
makes
think
sense.
it's clear to say that there's basically two rosters. You have your ledger of who you're paying for, and then you have your membership roster. Your membership roster remains unchanged. The ledger is where the scout name gets moved back and forth so that the council pays for that particular scout, and then they get moved back to your ledger after that.
That's
Is
a
that
fair characterization, yeah.
Yes, thank you,
Okay.
Richard. There's a question here from Gil, says, can a parent have a position in Cub and a scout? And how does it get logged? Gil, do you want to elaborate on your question?
I think he's talking about dual registration for Cub Scout Pack and Boy Scout Troop. or
Okay, so
Scouts
if
PSA Troop.
Yeah,
So usually
yeah, that's exactly
you
what I
have
was
to
saying.
decide between the troop and the pack. some troops say, okay, he's registered a troop, so there'll be multiple in the pack, or vice versa. So that's something you have to decide at, 188, which one will be paid, because there is in the recharting, it tells you, is this person a multiple?
To be clear, you don't have to decide which one to be registered in. You just have to decide which one to be paid in.
Yeah.
So one unit will put you in as a regular adult leader, and the other unit will, at the end of the process, which I'll show you in the internet process, will mark you as a multiple member, which means that you won't pay again, but you'll still be registered in that unit.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, so a lot of our questions are verging towards the internet process. So let's start talking about that. I've got a presentation here. It's like 40 pages, so we're not going to go over every page in a ton of detail.
Thank you.
But we will talk about this process of rechartering, and it started in the middle for some reason. So. Okay, so, and like I said, this presentation will be up on the website. So.
I also put in the link, the document that you were reading from.
Thank you. So when you click on the internet rechartering link that was sent out in the email from Heidi that includes your rechartering packet, you will be taken to this page. When you're first logging into this, ideally on December 1st, you will click the register button. That's the first time user for this year. At that point, you will be asked to put in the access code that is in your rechartering packet and select your unit type and then put in your number. Remember when you enter your number that you need to use the 4-digit version of your number. So if you're pack 225, you're going to select pack, and then you're going to put in 0225. If you're pack 50, you're going to put in 0050. Does that make sense? That one's kind of confusing sometimes, but it's always 4 digits, every the unit number that you put in there. The person doing the rechartering is going to get a lot of information about the people in your unit, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses. It is in order to participate in this system, you need to agree that you're going to protect that information and not use it for non-authorized uses. So that is this confidentiality agreement that the person logging in to internet rechartering must agree to. You also need to enter in your information as the processor of the unit's recharter. That's so we know who we can contact if we have questions about the internet rechartering and we need help interpreting something, or we see that there might be a mistake. You'll also set your password here. It's very important to remember your password because that's how you'll get back in after logging out. So you can come back as many times as you want to change stuff on your recharter until you're ready to submit it, but you need to make sure you remember that password. All right. So the first thing when you log in will actually be a little bit of a tutorial that will take you through showing you some of the systems. But then you get to the step where you need to load your roster. What internet rechartering will do is pull your roster out of ScoutNet. There is another option which you can upload a roster from a program that you have like Packmaster or TroopMaster that has all your units information, and upload it so that you can update it all at once. Only do this if you're very familiar with that program and you know that all the information in there is 100% accurate. But that is an option that you have. Otherwise, if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. What it will do is it will pull the information that should roughly match your the roster that was sent you. If you've added new scouts or adult leaders in the time between that when that roster was generated and now, then obviously those new members will be on there. But it will pull that roster. If you click Load Council Information, and then it'll be time to actually make the changes from your inventory. So the first thing that you can do is change information about your unit. That's your basically your chartered organization's address and name and all that. Then you're going to select which members are actually continuing with you. So there will be a list of, I keep pointing to my screen like you'll be able to see that. There will be a list of adult leaders followed by a list of your youth members, which will be separated into dens if you're in a pack, or rather they'll be separated into ranks. Otherwise it will be organized by last name or for adults by position. So these you need to select by clicking, checking or unchecking the renew box on the side, whether or not they will be continuing with your unit. Now, if you go, so imagine you opened this in October because you wanted to take a look at it. If you open it tomorrow, and then you do some work on it, but then you realize, oh, you know what, wait, we need to do our inventory. So you go, you do your inventory, you add a couple of applications because it's fall and you're recruiting, and then you come back. In order to make sure those applications that you added in the meantime appear, you need to make sure to click this button, Update Unit Roster. That will pull any new information from ScoutNet into the rechartering system so you can mark them renewing or not renewing. Oh, you can also click the renew or print roster button here to get a preview of what it looks like so far. This is important because this is what you'll make sure, this is what you'll need to show to your chartered org rep to make sure that your chartered org approves of your roster before you actually submit it. So there is an option in here called Promote Members. This is used if you have 2 units that have the same chartered organization to move a Cub Scout to a Scout troop, or an adult from a Cub Scout pack to a Scout troop. It's kind of a complicated process. So if you're not very close with your pack or troop that is like partnered with your unit in your chartered organization, then I wouldn't recommend even trying this process. But if you are, there's instructions on this page that you can follow. If you're not doing this, then what I recommend is that when a Cub Scout bridges to a Scouts BSA troop, you just fill out a youth transfer application and turn it into the council like you would for any youth. That's, in my opinion, a much easier process. You can also add new members here. This is for adding new members who aren't currently registered when you're turning in your charter. So that doesn't mean if you have a new youth member who you have in October, then you don't want to add them this way because you're not turning in your charter until December. So really the only time you should be adding youth or adult applications through this system is if you started your recharter on December 1st and you're about to turn it in on December 9th, and oh, you get an application on December 8th and you want to include it with your recharter. That would be the situation where you would want to add them because you'll include that adult application and their youth protection training and their background check authorization with the recharter packet that you're turning in. Then you would want to add them using this add new member feature. Otherwise, just turn in an application for them and then click update unit roster after you've turned it in. And that way they'll show up, okay? The next step is updating your member data. This is so important, and it's not something that's always done in our recharters. So I want to make sure that I encourage everybody to take this step seriously this year. In your inventories, you should have collected all the most recent contact information for the members of your unit. This is where you actually update that information. If you look and see that a member of your troop, your committee chairman, has outdated address or phone, you can click update on the left side to update all that information. The other thing that you can change here is their youth protection training expiration date. But if you update somebody's youth protection training expiration date differently in this on this screen, you're going to need to include the certificate with the recharter. So if they took youth protection training online, then you should be able to just update your roster to pull that new date, because it should automatically update if they took it through my.scouting.org. But if for some reason it isn't, you can change it here as long as you include that certificate with your recharter packet that you turn in.
That's a physical copy of the PDF or whatever.
Yeah, it's either a physical copy if you're bringing us a folder with a bunch of stuff, or a digital copy downloaded from my.scouting.org if you're emailing us the PDFs.
Thank you.
Of the packet. Yeah.
Thank you.
So in this last step of the update roster part of the recharter is updating the positions of your adult leaders. This is where it's going to check to make sure you have those requirements that we mentioned, that executive officer, which is the other name for the institutional head, the chartered org rep, the committee chairman, 2 committee members, and a unit leader. So you need to make sure that you have those 5, and then you need to make sure that everybody else's position besides those 5 are correct as well. So you want to make sure to update those tiger den leaders into den leaders. You want to make sure that if somebody's changing from a committee member to a troop chaplain, or from a committee member to a pack trainer, that you update that position. Whatever change you're making, you want to make it in here so that you don't have to turn in an adult application. And after you've done all that, you're going to have the chance to go and have it check your roster to validate all those different requirements. When you click this button, check roster, it's going to make sure that you have all the required adult positions. It's going to make sure that every registered adult has youth protection training, and it's going to verify that you have more than 1 youth member. And I believe that's everything. But if it finds that there are any issues with those 3 things, it will tell you what the problem is, and it will stop you from continuing. So if you can either make changes to the positions of your adult leaders to fulfill the requirements at that point, you can go talk to the adult leaders who don't have youth protection training, although ideally you've already completed that part in your November adult leader inventory. Or if you have a really big problem that you can't solve, then you can call Amy and I, and we'll try to help you out by recruiting a new Cub Master or something like that, if that's your problem. Okay, so after you have had the roster is validated, it will take you to your summary page. This is a very important step. You shouldn't skip it, because this is where you're going to mark who is paid for and who is not paid for. So if you have a, oh, I'm sorry, that's actually on the next step. I apologize. So you click on your summary, and it's going to bring up this like checklist of items. It's going to have a list of all the people that you're rechartering, and it's going to have some checkboxes for Boys Life, if you want to have if you want to sign up your youth to receive the Boys Life magazine. And it's going to have this checkbox for multiple registration. That means that you check it if a member is going to be registered in another unit. And if they're going to be registered in another unit that's going to pay for their registration, you need to also update their fees and mark them as not paying in your unit.
Pete, are you showing the right slide for this?
Am I? It should
I'm
say up
just
at the top.
Yeah. The right
Let me
one.
see. my mouse is near some checkboxes that say sign up Boys Life Youth Only and enter multiple registration.
I don't see it.
Can somebody, can anybody else see
Yeah, I
it?
see it, Pete. We're,
Okay.
we're following you here.
Got it.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
The next step is it's going to ask you it's going to ask you about all the youth you've signed up for Boys Life. Make sure that they're the right list. If all of your youth have registered with Boys Life, it will also let you select the 100% Boys Life unit box, which means that you can get a special ribbon for your troop flag, which is kind of fun. Finally, it will ask you to make sure that this roster is approved by your chartered organization. You, as a member of the unit committee, are not, if you're just a member of your unit committee, you are not able to approve it on for your chartered organization. There are two people who can approve on behalf of your chartered organization. It's your executive officer, so the pastor at your church, the commander of your American Legion post, the grand master of your Elks Lodge, I think, something like that, or the representative of your chartered organization for your unit. So you need to select which of those two people is approving your charter. You need to show them the charter by printing out a draft or getting a PDF of a draft and emailing it to them. And when they say it's okay, then you can say I or we agree. Or we do not agree. And if you do that, then you're going to have to get a physical signature at the end. The next step is payment. Now, there's 3 options here, but I'm going to recommend pay direct to council, because if you pay with a credit card or e-check, you're paying money directly to the National Council, which is great, because if you pay it to our local council, it's just going to be passed through anyway. But the problem is that once you do that, we can't make any changes to that payment. So if you come to us the day after your recharter and say, oh, actually, we found out that Jimmy's not going to be able to participate with us because he's moving to Utah, your unit's still going to be on the hook for that amount that you paid for Jimmy. We can't make changes to that payment after you've submitted your recharter, after you've submitted the payment, that is. If you're submitting it to us, we can make changes, because we haven't actually, because again, like I said before, we haven't actually submitted the recharter until it comes to our council and Heidi goes over it all and sends it off. So please keep that in mind before you select either of the online payment options. If you do pay, then you'll get a payment confirmation, which you should include in your recharter packet that you send to us. If you select pay direct to council, it'll just continue to the next step.
Pete, I have a question.
Yes.
This is Kathy Hutt from 2204. I was looking at the sheet that came in my packet today, and on page 2 of it, it says 1 check or recharter fees made payable to Sagamore Council.
Oh no,
That's got to be wrong.
that is wrong. I'm very sorry. That's
So
probably just
so
my
we need
fault.
to catch that before you start getting checks for the Sagamore Council.
You're absolutely right. Checks to our council should be made out to VHC VSA. Or
Thank
Verdugo
you.
Hills Council BSA, but thank you for catching that, Kathy. Yeah, you can see that I may have borrowed the work of another scouting professional out there. So at the very last step, you can authorize us to charge your unit account if there is enough money in your unit account by checking this box. And then when you click submit to council, you are no longer able to change your your roster. It'll then ask you to tell them a little bit about your experience so that they can use that feedback to improve this system. So at that point, you're able to print out your renewal application. That's the document that we need you to send to us in your recharter packet, which I will, I'll talk about it, all the stuff that we need in your recharter packet. It's very important that you print out the renewal application, the full renewal application, and not the shortened easy version, because that one doesn't have enough information for Heidi to work off of. So that full renewal application is the one that we'll need. And you'll get this nice little document. So that is the online recharter system. Do you have any questions about that online system before I talk about the recharter packet and what needs to be included in it? I guess not. Okay, that's great. So you're always welcome to come in and ask questions about if you run into something you don't understand in that online recharter system. We're always happy to help with that. We want to make sure that we get it right the first time and don't have to make a bunch of edits after the charter is submitted. So this checklist is going to be available on the website afterwards. And this is a checklist of what we need in your recharter application, in your recharter packet that you're sending to us at the end of the process. So the first thing is that full printout at the end of the online rechartering process, not the online one. I think I'm going to remove this from the final version that I upload because we're really not encouraging people to do a paper version of the recharter. We didn't even send you the stuff you would need to do it, but if you end up needing to do a paper recharter for some reason, we'll talk to you about it. You'll need an annual unit charter agreement signed by your chartered organization representative and the institutional head of your chartered organization. You've probably seen them before if you've done rechartering before. There's 2 signature spots on there, one that says chartered organization representative and one that says for your chartered organization. For your chartered organization should be your institutional head. The council signature we'll take care of after you turn it in. Oh, I see. Is Ginger Adams trying to show us a question? We'll get to your question right after this. Oh, okay. And then, so once we have, so that should be included with that recharter renewal application from the online system. We need adult applications for any new adult members who are not previously registered. So that means if you added them as a new member in the recharter process, which again should only be done if they turned in their application right before you were going to turn it in. Otherwise, you can just use that that button to pull the information from the national database. But for any new adults that are being registered, you need to add an application for them. A complete adult application includes the page of the application that has a background check signature, and the additional one that is that needs to be signed out, which you can find on the website as well as the youth protection training certificate. We also need the new background check authorization form for any new adult. So that's what I mentioned before. There's 2 background check authorization forms: the one that's attached to the application and the one that you need to get from our website.
Pete,
yes.
The paragraph above just has a small typo. It says the background check authorization, which is attached to the youth application. It's actually probably attached to the adult application.
You're right. It's not attached to its youth applications. Oh, thank you. Okay. We also need any youth applications for new youth. Same deal as before. We really encourage you to turn in your youth application immediately when you get it. In fact, it's very important that you do. The only reason you would be turning it in with your recharter is if you received it right as you were putting your recharter in. We also need a signed record of who should have access to your unit store account. That fillable half sheet was included in the recharter packet sent out to your unit. Also, a Journey to Excellence self-assessment form. You can get your commissioner's help with performing that self-assessment, and those self-assessment forms are available at scouting.org/JTE. And the item that's not on here that I need to add before I upload it to the website is we need a roster of any scouts whose families are requesting individual membership assistance with that form that Amy showed earlier. And attached to that roster should be every form that those scout families have filled out. So there should be a form for every scout, including if there are 2 siblings, we need a form for each sibling. And the roster needs to be on there as well, because we'll need to know the number of scouts. We also need 2 checks. The first check is for the amount that's being included in the recharter. So if you, on that recharter renewal application, it will show how much your unit needs to pay. You can also pay that online, like I said before, although it's not recommended. And you could also have us charge your unit account, which is fine too. And actually, it's fine if you do that for both of these checks. We can charge the unit account, or it can be a check. It can even be cash if you want to come into the scout shop. The other check that we need is if you look at the individual membership assistance form, it asks families if they're able to contribute an amount to their membership. So some families may need the entire registration fee covered, and that's okay. Some families might say, well, we can afford $50 registration fee for each of our scouts, but we can't afford the full amount. If they indicate that they're able to pay a certain amount, we need the sum of that amount, those amounts, as a payment to the council. Does that make sense? Got it. I love the sign language, Kathy. So is there, that's the full extent of items we need in the recharter packet. Are there any questions about that?
No, but there's a question in the chat, Pete.
Oh, got it.
So Chris from PAC 360, at the time recharter for new adult applications, should we get a wet signature from the charter org rep, or are we still accepting, our charter can write their approval on the application? Since it's still under COVID and under the Q&A for COVID-19, if the charter org sends an email to you saying he approves the application, please attach that to the adult application. I know Chris and I have a system for all new adult application. The charter org just sends me an email and says, yes, I approve Joe Smith's application, and then I attach it to that application too. So we're still taking digital OKs right now. Thanks, from the charter org.
All right. Anybody else? Congratulations, you've all graduated from rechartering school. You're ready to submit your rechartering at the beginning of December. Remember, the due date for rechartering is December 10th. So December 10th is when we want your packet turned into us by. So make sure you get working on your membership inventory this month, your leadership inventory next month, so that right on December 1st you can get it all done really fast, because it'll all be ready. It'll all be right there in those documents. Pierre, I think we're ready to continue with the rest of Roundtable. You are currently,
Has anybody addressed fees yet already or not?
oh my gosh,
Oh,
Amy, you
that was
told
my
me to
question.
do that, and I did not. I missed it. Sorry. Yes. So our rechartering or the membership fees for 2021, they were announced earlier this year. There's no surprises, but let's go over them really quick. So I wanted to bring up this nice Scouting Wire article because it has an awesome infographic talking about the fees. So I'm going to talk about the national fees, and then Amy will talk about our council membership fees, which haven't changed from last year. We can ignore the effective dates for all these fees now because we're past October 1st. These fees apply to every new application and every rechartering scout now. So for participants, who are starting when they're Cub Scouts and Lion Cubs in kindergarten, all the way up through 20 and they're Venturer, it's $66 a year. For exploring, which I don't think we have any explorers on the call, but it's $42 a year. For all registered adult volunteers is $42 a year. For any new member, in addition to these fees, there's a $25 fee. Keep in mind,
I'm sorry, is that just for youth or youth and adults?
thank you. That is just for youth. It also doesn't apply to anybody who has previously been in a BSA program of any kind. Even if they've had a gap in their registration, it's only for first-time new members who are youth. These fees, $66 and $42, are prorated based on how many months there are left in the year. So if you're registering a scout in October, they pay for the month of October, the month of November, and the month of December. So they're only going to pay a fourth of $66. But they will pay the full $25 new member fee. And finally, if your unit is rechartering, you will be assessed a single fee for the whole unit of $75 in addition to the other fees. So if you're rechartering a boys troop and a girls troop, that's going to be $150 altogether. If you're rechartering one pack, it's $75, etc. Amy, do you want to talk about our council's fees?
I don't think I have it on my screen.
For every,
Well, I can talk about it for it.
Okay.
So what it breaks down is $111 for youth scouts. What it is the $66 goes to national, $12 cover insurance and sickness, and a $33 program fee. For adults, it's the $42 and just the $12 for the accident and sickness fee. So it'll be a total of $54 for adults.
$56, you mean?
No, it's 42 plus 12.
Oh, 42. Okay.
Yeah, 42 plus 12.
So yeah.
54.
So a brand new incoming unit member would end up paying $136.
Correct.
Is there any discussion among the committee or anybody about, as in other councils, lessening the $33 program fee?
Greater Los Angeles is only recharging everybody for 9 months. But if you work out the years, both West Los Angeles Council and Greater Los Angeles their costs are higher than ours.
So the answer is no.
No. They're also charging more for their insurance fees too. We've tried to keep the costs very minimal.
The other question that has come up around these fees was about offsetting it with things like popcorn sales. So if your unit is really active with popcorn sales, I know that there hasn't been a decision made yet, but has there been continued talk about it?
We weren't able to launch our planned program for offsetting our council fees by participating in some of our programs this year because so many of our programs were canceled or mitigated. But
Yep.
I imagine we will revisit the creation of a program like that next year, if it's
That's
possible.
for sure.
Yeah, David. Honestly, David Potter, you might be better at answering these questions than we are because these happen at our board level.
Yes, the board will definitely be revisiting all fees and how to do it and how we can work next year on offsetting the costs. That's been on our agenda and we keep trying to work it. And as soon as we can do a little more activities with COVID, then we can start bringing in more income and offset some of these costs. It's been very tough at the board level discussing some of these things. It really hurts us to even to set these fees. If you have any questions about them, feel free to ask me too. That's a good sign, I guess.
No, I think they're
I
all
think
stunned by the cost.
Yeah.
The group here is probably the group that have been active in discussing this for the better part of the last year. So I don't think that there's anything new under the sun here.
Right.
Right. And
That's true.
Well, and some
for
of our
this,
units
for
ate the
this
increases
kind of
last-
discussion, yes.
Yeah, some of our units ate the increases last year, so we didn't have to throw it at our parents last year. This year, now we have to, and our program is cut back, so it's an even harder sell going in, to know that we can't guarantee how amazing 2021 is going to be unless we can say we know it's going to be amazing on Zoom. But yeah.
And the other thing is, for those of us that did that, it's a greater jump from one year to the next because we didn't pass along that $33 fee last year. So now it increases $33 plus the increase that National has laid at our doorstep. So it hurts that much more.
Please keep in mind that we don't want to turn away anybody who struggles to pay these fees, and that we are anticipating a higher number of individual membership assistance requests. So we're not, we're prepared to help people who need help.
Are they required to answer all the questions on that form though to get help? Because I do feel like some of our families may not want to answer all the questions in that little box, I felt like. So there's a lot of transparency that needs to be shared. I just want to make sure it's necessary.
You want me to bring it back up, Pete?
Yes.
I mean, I would say I think the answer is probably yes. If there's specific concerns that they have, then maybe they could reach out, Amy.
Well, I think when I saw it, I thought, well, if they answer it the wrong way, does that mean they won't get it? So we can assure them that they will, but because there's some yes/no questions there, that's what raised my first question to Amy about, if we think they'll get approved.
There are people who have reached out personally, directly to us and asked because they don't want to share it within their own unit. Pete and I are both professionals that have been trained, and so if there are people who have some questions, and some people have not filled the whole thing out, but if basically, if they don't feel comfortable, let us know. Because like Pete and I said, we have not turned anyone away, and we anticipate there are going to be a lot more people asking for membership assistance. And, it's just that, we need to know because, if some people don't feel comfortable selling popcorn, but it helps us to know, are they trying, to sell popcorn if you sell it to offset costs? I know it's difficult this year because under COVID, there are situations. This also membership fee covers uniforms that, new scouts may join and need it.
This also isn't like a gotcha. It's not like a test where we're trying to
No.
really determine, are they deserving, or what it is a lot of this helps us do fundraising, where we can go and anonymize this data and say to, for example, the city of Glendale, and say, these are the people that we've helped. This is some anonymized data about how the funds that you're providing to our council can help families participate in scouting. And that's the primary purpose of us collecting this information.
Yeah, because we need to say in this range, in this area. Other than that, also the other clubs that normally donate to us, like the Glendale Kiwanis or the Rotary, especially those two, their mission is to help youth. So if I can report to them, say, this year we had X amount of assistance, it does help my cause to get more money to help youth in our council.
And I think if that's made transparent, when you guys say it, it makes perfect sense, but now it's on me to communicate that back to our committee chair who gets the requests that come through our unit to make sure all of our, 70 scouts and their families know this. So if there's a way to put it in in the footer. So I'd love for this form to not be intimidating to anyone. And we'll send them your way if we feel that there's any concern.
No, that's a good request. So we can look at it. Right now, the form is the way it is, but we can restructure this so it makes it a little bit more user-friendly, not so intimidating.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
I would agree with Michelle Basler. The simple, you look at it, the first form, and that looks like a typical, we need this information and we're going to be using it for something, but it doesn't say that. It just says answer them. Even where it says, please answer the questions below and explain your answers. If you just say what that information is for, these questions will help us get further funding from, further donation fundings as we anonymize the information. It's kind of what you said, but right there, because I know a few people have read it and said, wait, why, what does it matter if my son is in a single parent household? Why do they care if I'm getting government assistance? Is that going to affect my application or not? Because nobody knows what you've just said earlier, that you don't refuse them. So this means, this comes through as a test per se. Am I going to get it? Am I not going to get it?
It's a perception problem.
Yeah, definitely.
So if there was a line or two right above that box where those questions are, would be the thing to do, right?
We might as well. I think we might as well put it right up at the top of the form. Information on this form is helpful to our council to use in
further
understand the demographics we're serving.
Yeah, and we'll be
to
kept,
request additional
strictly
aid.
confidential. That kind of stuff.
And if it's not being used to make a decision about whether or not they'll get the funding, then say that. Just a suggestion.
That's not entirely true.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is we do not anticipate turning down any scouts. We haven't in my recent knowledge. But if we do run into a situation where there aren't enough funds, then we would have to make a determination based on need and availability. But like I said, we've done increased fundraising this year for camperships in order to help us fill the need that we anticipate families having this year. So we still
thank you for changing it from campership to membership assistance request. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
And
It was so confusing, Richard, because they had the campership on the first page and then membership on the second. So Pete and I talk about splitting
I
it out.
appreciate that.
And
Yeah.
there is still
I-
There is
a
still a
form
campership. So
to request
once we can go
camping.
camping, people
Yeah,
can ask for a campership.
That's nice.
All right.
and as far as I know, in both those categories, we have not turned anybody away in long as I've been here.
Yeah,
on the
I mean,
board.
it really is a priority for our council.
So if you know what I think we should do, Pete, is tomorrow redo this application and then send it out to everybody. And those who didn't attend the meeting will do an email with a short explanation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So know that you have a form, know that the form is going to be updated and be resent out to you.
And it'll also be like all the other stuff that I've shown today will be available on the website on that internet rechartering page.
And I just want to say thank you for you guys' input. That's what we need in our family of scouting here. Input is great for us. Your mic is off, Pierre, if you're saying something.
I was chewing on my celery stick. And that's why I put my mic off. Any other questions for Pete or Amy on this? And I will remind you, this is not your only chance to ask questions. Both of them are available for any specific questions you might have about your situation or your pack or troops situation.
Oh, I know. I was asked the other day, is there a list somewhere of which, for lack of a better term, program the program fee covers? Because often, tongue-in-cheek, we hear the what program? And I know there's a ton of them, but is there a list? I can say, just go here, because I run out of breath sometimes.
You know, we've created a list. We create a document, I should say, every year that we show to donors that includes that kind of information. So maybe we could adapt that to apply to our membership fee. I'll see if I can just
Please.
take that information.
My wife asks me this every week.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. I get from, like, sometimes new parents or sometimes jaded parents, and literally they'll say, what program specifically is that $33 fee for, or whatever that fee is? What program? Like, does it go, what? Does it go to camping? Does it go to fundraising? Does it, you know? And so if there's just a list, look, that fee gets used for this.
It pays for the Roundtable Commissioner's salary.
Yes, that kind of stuff. Double it if you need to. But that's what I'm saying. And sometimes I get it tongue in cheek from people, but a lot of times I get it just, well, and I'm going to get it a lot this year. Well, we haven't been around since March. What program?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a scouting program fee for the council. And yes, we'll create a list and get that together so you guys will have something for next year's programs.
Well, in this year's program too, David. I mean, we've done some, even with the shutdown, we've done some marvelous stuff with the day camp and
Right.
film camp and the haunt-on and other things.
Seeing something like that would probably work. So then we could say, hey, this is where that went to. Hey, it didn't go directly to something you did, but it kept the council moving so that we can do what we do.
That's a great comment. We who are in the midst of all of this, it's like water to a fish. We understand what we're doing, but we don't realize that other people don't necessarily see all the specifics. Yep. Thank you.
I think it was 21 years ago my son was a Cub Scout, so.
21
Probably
years
collecting
ago?
weekly dues.
Yes.
Let me go back to our agenda tonight, and thank you, Pete and Amy, for covering this difficult topic of rechartering. It's complicated, and we would like to make it simpler, and doing it online is one way to make it simpler.